Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Air Conditioning and Plumbing News for the Coachella Valley. My name is Jeff Harrison. I'm excited to be here today. What is this all about? Well, it's about the opportunity to say, hey, I'm thinking about or I'm having trouble with my air conditioning, and I'm looking for a resource that I can go to, that I can trust, and just sometimes get some answers. And this is the place. And so this is a new show. This is our second week. If you missed last week, just go back to one of our channels, whether it's Facebook, it's YouTube, and check that out. We like to say we want to answer your questions from an expert and a professional. And today is no different. But before we get started, I want to ask you a question. Hey, since let's say you are in the position to replace your air conditioning, have things changed since then? I mean, last year I replaced air conditioner on our home, our personal home, and we had never replaced the air conditioner since the home was built. So it was like 17 years old. I know it was a long time. They're not supposed to last that long, but things had changed. So we can't just go back and say, just like a combination lock, it's always the same numbers will get you the same results. Things change over time. And so we thought, well, let's bring the expert in, Rick Cubas, who is he's the brain trust behind Preferred Services out in the East Valley. Goes by Preferred Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Heating out in the East Valley. Let's bring Rick on. Rick, welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, what's going on, big guy?
Oh, everything. How you doing out there?
I'm doing great. Thanks again for carving some time out to answer a question and help our viewers and those people here in the Coachella Valley to say, how do I get away from just a commercial telling me I should do this and just get some factual information? So I really appreciate it.
Sure. My pleasure.
Hey, today we want to talk about, there's a question that often comes up is, okay, I need to replace my air conditioning. Rick, where do I start? What's that primary question that I have to start with? Is it, what is that? What do you find in your business? The first question when you help somebody that they ask, or maybe that we should ask?
Yeah. There's actually several different motivators in terms of why somebody would want to highly consider replacing their air conditioning system. One of them is, everybody's pretty familiar with, is just the sheer age of the system, because the average lifespan of an air conditioning system is anywhere from 10 to 12 years old on an average. We've seen some last a lot less and obviously some a lot more, but the average seems to be about that 10 to 12 year marker. Especially with our desert heat and the climate that we have out here, we get the extreme temperatures. We have more sun than just about anywhere in the country, right? So they just tend to get a lot more wear and tear than normal. So the first question I tend to go to would be, how old is your air conditioning system? And if they don't know, I can help them figure that out very easily with getting some information about the home, or just straight off the nameplate on the air conditioning system.
Rick, when it comes to that primary question, like as an example, let's say you're going down the freeway, and let's take you out of it. Someone's going down the freeway and they have a flat tire.
Right.
Is the first question they ask when they call AAA or whoever they're going to have to it is to say, before I call them, I'm going to find out the age of my tire. Is there even a question more like, hey, what size do I need? What color?
Yeah.
It's almost like when I go in and get fitted for pants. It's like, hey, what's my waistline? That's the first question. Is there that primary question that we as the homeowners would ask, not you so much as the business owner would ask, but us as the homeowners?
Yeah. Again, there's going to be, and I'm going to say about 10 different questions, really. But one of the things that comes up from the homeowners is really the comfort levels. The comfort levels tend to, if we're talking about that tire going out on the freeway, it's really when that customer is like, gosh, it's just not cooling like it used to. Which will also give it to the indication of time and age and that sort of thing. But, comfort levels tend to start dropping off, and repair bills start to increase. And then thirdly is really their utility bill. They're starting to see it, their utility bill, especially if you're in the Edison area, by the way, start to skyrocket.
We talk about that, the electric bill. Let's jump on that for just a second. In the state of California, sometimes out there in the news, I'm not saying it, I'm just I'm just kind of echoing it. They say we almost live in a third world country because we can't seem to supply enough energy for the people who live there because we have rolling blackouts, we have brownouts, all that kind of stuff. What's the difference of a unit that is 10 to 15, or like ours was 17 years old, versus a new one when we talk about energy consumption?
Yeah, what we're seeing out there on average is customers reducing their electric bill by about 50%. We've seen upwards of 60 and 65% as well. So they're a lot more efficient than back in the day. And the way we rate these air conditioners is by SEER rating, SEER, Seasonal Energy Efficiency Rating. So the higher that number is, the lower your electric bill will be, as long as we configured the system appropriately and we properly matched up the condenser, the coil, and the furnace together, because it's a perfectly matched system with all three of those components together to maximize your efficiency.
You know, Rick, is it one of those things where, hey, I crawl on my roof and I say, okay, I have a certain size air conditioner and here's my SEER rating, and I just call you and say, hey, deliver me another one? Or is there a little more complicated, or is the process a little different than that?
It is a little different, and for sure not complicated. We have really dialed in a very easy way for customers to figure out what they need and what they want, because we do have needs and wants when we go through this process. One of the things that we like to go over is a little fact sheet that's or a questionnaire called our comfort concerns. And so the way we design these systems and figure out what those wants and needs are is by asking these questions. And some of those questions are, how do you like the comfort level? On a scale from 1 to 10, how do you like your current comfort level of your air conditioning system when it is working? How about the noise level of the system? How about your utility bills? How about the humidity levels and those questions? And so once we figure all that stuff out, really it's easy for us to figure out. Now, we do this both in person and virtually, because we still have we're still in a different world when it comes to social distancing and that sort of thing. Typically, we would do a free in-home evaluation where we would get up in the attic, we would take measurements, and we look at all the glass that you have in the house and or the windows and all the types of flooring that you have, because all that makes a difference as well between carpet and tile. And so east facing, west facing, south facing windows. So between going in the home and taking our measurements to figure out exactly what the home needs, then we're figuring out what the actual needs are of the customer and their family, to really dial in what they need. Now, if we can't get out there, or the customer doesn't want us out there and we want to do it virtually, we do have programs that'll allow us to figure out how many square feet they have in the home. And again, we can do this all virtually over the phone and showing them the brochures and the different installations that we do.
So let me just kind of go back through this. So really, some of the things that you absolutely need are, hey, the size of the home, the number of the windows, number of bedrooms. That's a really good start for you to determine, hey, sure, what size unit you might need.
Right.
Okay. So those are, I would say, so those are some of the primary questions. Because I think about, again, I'm going to go back to that tire guy. My guy over at the tire place, when I walk in, the first thing he does is says, let's go measure the tires. Let me get the information off your tires. It sounds like you're going to do the same thing. Let me go get the measurements.
Yeah, the measurements.
Of your house, right?
Right. And if we do it virtually, by the way, one thing that we do is we do it all virtually. We can gather up all the information, and actually, height of ceilings is another great question to ask as well, because that just changes the amount or the volume of air that we're going to be moving. But once we dial this all in virtually, we'll also make these confirmations when we do our pre-site before we do the actual installation. So while some viewers might be concerned about us doing this 100% remotely and virtually, at some point we will need to do a pre-site inspection to just verify everything that was discussed, because again, with all our warranties and guarantees in place, we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing from the first time we get out there to install that system.
Cool. Okay. So Rick, let's just kind of recap here. So if someone's looking for, first of all, if you're just joining us, I'm here with Rick Cubas. He is the owner and The saying a friend of mine in the radio business said, he's a big fleabadies. He's in charge of all this out at Preferred Air Conditioning, Heating and Plumbing, or Plumbing and Heating out in the East Valley. But we're talking today about, hey, if you need to replace your system, where do you start? And it sounds like the first starting place is we better find out what size of home you're in that needs, or let's say commercial building needs to be cool. That's a good start. So do me a favor, just run over those real quickly. Again, those key points, Rick.
So square footage of the home, the amount of glass that we have west facing, mainly southwest facing, the heights of the ceilings.
Hey, Rick, let me ask a question. Why is that so important, those southwest facing windows?
It's just the radiant heat that comes through the glass. So while another customer that doesn't have that much glass can get away with a smaller unit because we don't have all that infiltration of that additional radiant heat coming in from that glass.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm sorry I interrupted you there, but I wanted to point that out. Like, hey, who cares where my windows are facing? Aren't they double painted or triple painted?
No, that's good. Good to clarify. Yeah, good to clarify. And by the way, when we go through that stuff with the homeowners, we're actually going through those details and making sure they understand the why behind all of that. Because again, at the end of the day, what we're looking for is referrals. The majority of our business is just somebody telling somebody else, and it's because we ask enough questions to dial in and figure out what the customer's requirements are.
Gotcha. Okay, so we got the size of the home, how many southwest facing windows. What was the next one?
So the height of the ceilings. We also want to talk about the insulation of the house. Something we didn't cover in the first phase of this call, and that is the amount of insulation. Do they have R30? If they don't have R30, what R value insulation do they have to battle that heat that's coming in from the attic and infiltrating into the living space? And then the current size unit that they have now, because they may be happy with the current size unit that they have at this point. They've had it for 30 years. They love the volume of air. They're happy with the current situation. They just need to, replace a box. But that's not typically what we do as a custom comfort company. And that just means we're going to ask all the questions to make sure that we cover lowering that utility bill, lowering that sound level, making it as efficient as possible, and that sort of thing.
Rick, first of all, I want to thank you for all your time and being able to do this every week with us, and really being that expert that have boots on the ground and understand some of this. Because I know, you're not only answering questions of, hey, how do we replace air conditioning? Sometimes it's fixing a leaky toilet. Sometimes it's like, hey, what's those noises in my wall every time the water goes on? And I can't wait to dive into that as well. But
that's a fun one.
Yeah, you've been very helpful. Do us a favor. If someone is out there and they're thinking about this, last week, if you missed last week's show, make sure to go back. We talked about, and we won't go too deep into it, but I want you to be aware of something that's happening. We're seeing, because of the pandemic, because of shortages of parts and things of that nature, we're seeing some big changes, aren't we, Rick?
Yeah, we haven't seen the really big change just yet. We did see an effect of it in the summertime where normal standard equipment was not available. So we were scrambling, we were traveling outside the city to go pick the stuff up. We had longer wait times than normal. But the prediction from our suppliers, as I've been keeping in touch with them almost on a daily basis, is that we will experience shortages in both equipment and parts and pieces. So if we're out there and we're just trying to extend the life of your system and just trying to keep your existing system going, we may be even facing some challenges there. Now, again, we haven't faced the challenges yet. They're just kind of giving us a heads up. And the good news is our suppliers have fully loaded our warehouse to the brim. So my hope is we have enough to get us through till this next spring, until we're back to normal inventory counts. But the second part to that is just the expense associated with it, the price increases that are coming. Again, they're scheduled to hit in November. We've seen some parts and pieces upwards of 45% increase. So, and we're doing everything we can right now to offset those costs so our customers don't see that. But it's kind of an unpredictable thing at this point.
Wow. So up to a 45% increase. Now you have something special going on that's going on. And the reason, because I know them, I've been in the back end and seen that you have something special going on to really right now help those people who maybe are on the fence, lock in prices and save tons of money. Can you take just a moment and share those, and then we'll let you go?
Yeah, several are taking advantage of this. So we have up to $1,800 instant preferred discounts. We're not adding any taxes, of course. And then we have up to 18 months, no payment, no interest with no down payment required. So again, locking in prices that were actually prices from back in 2016. I'm talking 2016 pricing, up to $1,800 instant discounts and 18 months, no payment, no interest, no down payment. That's been the big key promotions.
Okay, Rick. So that is, my background is I'm a golf professional. That's like a tap in. That's like a gimme. That's like no brainer, gang. If you are on the edge and you're thinking, wow, how am I going to afford this? It sounds like, let me ask you this. If you come to my house and I give you free food, how much is it going to cost you? Why would you refuse? My wife is a great chef. So the point is, Rick is laying it out for us and saying, hey, don't sweat. No pun. Yes, pun intended. Get the thing installed. Get that off your plate. And you said, and no payments for 18 months?
Yeah, no payments for 18 months. And you know what we found also when we do the math, and we'll do this, we'll pen this out to figure out what your current electric bill is. And a lot of times you're already paying the money anyway to Edison. All we're going to do is redirect that money back to you in the form of a new air conditioning system. So a lot of people that might be saying out there, hey, I don't know if I can afford this. What you'll find in many cases, if you're in the Edison area, is that you're already paying for a new unit. You're just giving it to Edison, and all we're doing is just redirecting that money.
That's brutal. It reminds me of that commercial, maybe before you were born, Rick, because I'm a little older, just a little older than you. But it was like that mechanic said, and he's got a cloth and he's wiping something. He says, you can pay me now or you can pay me later. But if you pay me later, in other words, you say, hey, I'm going to put this off and wait. Right. It's going to be up to 45% more expensive. Take advantage of that. Let me put your number on the screen there, Rick. Make sure I get it right. It's 760-863-0832. Is that correct?
That is the hotline. Yes.
Hey, call preferred. You're going to get Jean on the phone. Jean is a machine. She's a wonderful lady. Tell her you saw Rick on today's show and say, hey, I want a piece of that $1,800. No, the discount, the no payments, all that kind of stuff. And I saw from Rick. Rick, before we let you go, any last minute thoughts? Yeah,
really just, there's our industry has a bad name, especially out here in the Valley. As much as I love this Valley of ours, it has a bad reputation with high pressure sales. And just know this, we don't typically get every call that we go on, but we're here to educate the community. So the idea is this, it's a no obligation, free estimate. Let's talk, let's have some conversation. Let's point you in the right direction and let's just see what it's going to take to get your system replaced. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. And we're going to be those ones that are going to be transparent and honest with you as if whether or not it's the right time. And at the end of the day, you're going to look at your finances and your situation with you and your family and make the best decision at that point. But we're going to give you all the information necessary without any high pressure and without any obligation.
Rick, before I let you go, I want to ask you one other thing. Again, to just alleviate and also to compare. We want you to compare. I'm not asking anybody to say, hey, jump in, blindly go into preferred and talk to Rick and Jean and get their air conditioning taken care of, although you'd be okay, is to compare. You offer something that says, hey, for the next 2 years, if anything changes, you've got our back. Would you share us a little bit about that? And then I promise I'll let you go because I know
we just want customers to feel good about their purchase. It's a big investment. It's one of the biggest investments you'll make for your house. It costs the most to replace and repair. And we have a 2-year fair price guarantee that just says, look, you're in a bind, you had to have the system replaced, and you just always want to make sure you got the best deal as possible. We're saying for the next 2 years, you can continue to make those comparisons with. So when a customer says, hey, I want to shop around, we encourage that because it will really show you what separates preferred from the other competitors. And by the way, there's several good ones out there. We're not saying we're the only ones, but the idea is this: we encourage the shopping, because you will see the true differences side by side. And for the next 2 years, if somebody comes up with the same program for less money, then we have to, we will call you to make that price adjustment with you, and also give you a $250 bonus on top of that as well.
I mean, okay, I'm like, if you're in the market, if you're thinking maybe in the next 6 months, I might do this, why wait? Like you said, either you can pay your money to Edison or IID, whoever it is, or you can have a brand new unit and save that same amount of money that you would have been paying in your electric bill.
Exactly.
The cost of a new unit. To me, Rick, it really is pretty easy.
Yes, I would agree with you.
All right. So folks, the information is on the screen, 760-863-0832. Call and Gene will answer the phone. Tell her you saw Rick on air conditioning and plumbing news right here for the Coachella Valley, and say, hey, I want a piece of that save me money and interest pie, and jump in and do this. Or worst case scenario, call and say, can you do me a favor? Can you come out and get an estimate, get the size of my home, see how many windows are facing southwest, check out the size of my ceilings, and figure out, do I have the right size in my home, as you said, to make sure that I'm comfortable? Because let's face it, we've got a lot of hot days in the summer here. I think we had 140 days over 100 this past season.
Yeah, we sure did.
That it's important to do it right. Rick, I can't thank you enough, really being
my pleasure.
that beacon. So when people say, hey, how do I make a good decision when it comes to whether it's air conditioning, plumbing, or we say heating, but a lot of times we don't need to heat, but you have to have that as a third piece, right?
Right.
And the best place to come is air conditioning and plumbing news right here for the Coachella Valley. Rick, thank you so much for doing this. We'll see you next week.
Jeff. Thank you very much. Take care out there.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So that's what this is all about. It's all about saying, hey, be the, when I was a kid, and it's still around today, anytime my parents wanted anything from a toaster to a car to whatever, they always referred to Consumer Reports because they felt that was a trusted source. We want to do the same thing right here to say, we want to ask those hard questions of Rick and find out the answers to help you. It's almost like there's a Consumer Reports episode every week for you, except it's about air conditioning, plumbing, and heating here in the Coachella Valley. And then find out, hey, Rick, are there some savings out there for us? So I want to thank you for joining us. My name is Jeff Harrison. We'll see you again next week on air conditioning and plumbing news here in the Coachella Valley. Take care, everybody.